All right. So hopefully, you're back after I just finished hitting the off button on my last recording. So this is part two of my update for those that are interested in my reactions to basically going online to some of the top porn sites, adult interactive webcam sites. I mean, not recorded porn, but live models that do stuff in free chat. Um, and for those that aren't familiar with these sites, I'm not going to promote them. I'm not going to name them. But I am an analyst for them, and I am a performance artist on one of these sites. And I'm actively, working as a change agent on a metaphysical level to change perceptions, change attitudes, change whatever I can change, basically, for it to be more like I think it should be. And to make it more fun for me in ways that I think are fun. So, anyways, I'm a little bit different. And so I look at these sites. I'll just surf over to one right now. I'll surf over to the one that I have an account on that I've been broadcasting on. Okay, and so, and this, it depends on what type of day you go on these sites. There, it changes throughout the day, and it depends on who's on it. But okay, so I'm looking at, this is probably I think in terms of traffic globally, probably the most popular, or the site with the most traffic, and it's extremely explicit and hardcore. So when you go to the front page, and this is why I'm not promoting it at all, because I can't. I mean, a kid can easily get past the yes, I'm 18 page, and after you do that one time, it, unless you're clearing your cache all the time, you don't have to keep doing that. So I mean, it's very, very easy with just one click, basically, to get to this page and see a lot of flesh. Is it affecting me? No, because I've seen it all before, and it's boring. That's not even what I'm looking for. I mean, mainly, I mean, yeah, I guess it's affected me a little bit in that I find it to be extremely just dull and intellectually not stimulating at all. I just think it's very, it does nothing for it. It's not a turn on. And I'm looking at it thinking how unfortunate I think that it is a turn on for other people. Like, I'm looking at this, and I'm trying, almost like, for where I am right now, I'm almost like trying to connect with why people find this type of entertainment appealing. And it actually, it makes me feel sad. It makes me feel sad that people, it's not a prudish thing. It's not about that. It's just, I find it to be extremely submissive behavior. I think it's just undignified, and I don't think there's anything elevating about it at all. The way that it's done. I mean, these are very much like I think I'm not saying that there aren't, like good people or smart people or, I okay, mainly what I see, it's not about judging the people. Mainly what I see are a lot of people who have been programmed the way that I used to be programmed. A lot of these people on this particular site, which is why I never wanted to be on this site, it's just, it's not even about personality, or like, I would say on this particular site, this site has the fewest models that do any type of soft porn or just like talking shows. There's a handful, and those are the ones that if I do watch anything, I watch them, because they're more like they use music. Yeah, they might get naked, but they at least they do a long program where it's a little bit more like slow. It just isn't like the hardcore. Everything's just about, basically it's the very same content that you would get from, going to an adult movie, like a hardcore adult movie. Um, and it's just about, like people that are into mainly like different acts, or they, across the top. I mean, and usually what I do immediately, because across the top there's like the featured rooms. You can see males, females, couples, trans, and I'll just go right to the females. So I really don't want to see any kind of couple stuff. And I also don't want to see any males or anything like that. And when I do look at just the solo female acts, yeah, I mean, I'm basically just looking for anybody that might be doing something a little bit different, might be doing something kind of artful, or, just somebody who isn't just all about the sex and the money. And there's basically nobody on at the moment that fits that description, and that's when I get bored. And that's why when I'm on these sites, it's like I might just like check it and immediately get bored because there's nothing to watch, and then go to the next site. So the next one is also a site where there are people giving free shows in a free chat type of format, and it's more about that than somebody trying to like be a hustler, form a connection one-on-one with somebody to get them to go into a private chat where a pay per minute type of transaction gets started. So these are, and this site is completely different than the last one, because this site doesn't allow any men or any couples or any trans. So they all kind of have their little niches, so you might think that this site was a little bit, I guess it's probably known to maybe be a little bit more classy. But the thing you have to remember about all these sites, it doesn't matter. They're all owned by the ultra wealthy elite. Everything's rigged. So this particular site has a ranking system that keeps the women, in a constant state of, I think they all just like wake up, and every waking moment of their life is like what their number is. And if they, like maybe they took 24 hours off, and, they went from being like number 3 to number 200 overnight, and it happens all the time, and you can just see the drop in that performer's energy level, her mood, her acting ability is slipping a little bit, her confidence is slipping, these are the things that I'm looking at, because I'm as an empath, I'm like, and because I've been in the business, I can tell exactly what's going on. So this is just another way of controlling women, is by ranking them. You know, I mean, making these women think, oh, I'm gonna make this great money. I mean, it's such a great job. Okay, so I got some more tea, and my dog goes off when he hears a neighbor dog barking outside like that. So hopefully that is over. So yeah, anyways, back to the second site. Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, these women, the hardest thing for me is like seeing the mind control. And you know, it really is. I mean, these girls are owned. And there's a lot I could say. I wish there was maybe somebody on that. There are light workers that are in this industry. They may not call themselves that, or they may not know that language, but there definitely are. So I see, I see them, and then those are the ones that I spend time in their rooms. That the problem is the ones that have the most light. You know, can also, you know, have some of the most difficult programming. And there's really not anything I can do. And I have actually reached out to one who I know for a fact has to be a light worker, and honestly, I think I just scared her. She never wrote me back, so it isn't that. You know, that's another thing. I mean, I guess when I look at the women, the main thing I'm looking at too is just like, you know, what kind of a person are they, and you know, would they be a good friend? Like, what is their level of friendship skills? That's always kind of what I'm looking at, whether it's male or female, right? And I think what's really, really sad about this industry is the way it really does indoctrinate these women to have a very competitive attitude towards other women. So they've already got that. And then this system makes it doubly worse. And the thing is, all of these women are working side by side. They're basically co-workers making this site a shit ton of money. There wouldn't be a site without these workers. So of course, you know, you want to make sure that none of them are friends. And they aren't friends. And they pretty much all have, if not a straight up pimp, and you might want to just call it, you know, your model management, where, oh, they, you know, I mean, I guess if you live in a poor country and somebody's willing to give you a small cut, you know, of your labor and give you a room where you can take your clothes off in to make money, you know, that might seem like a good job, or maybe, you know, an opportunity. And that's a big change that I've noticed coming back and just starting to watch these sites again, is that it seems like in the last 3 years there has been a definite reduction in the independent models working the sites, and a huge influx of these I don't know. Almost every model I look at looks like she's either owned by some major pimp, like a whale of some kind, judging by like the luxury of her surroundings in the background. And the ones that are in the top 100 on this site are all, I mean, they're making tens of thousands of dollars a month. But then there's a bunch of other performers that are not making that or anything close to that. But they're working in these studios, so they have like these nice backgrounds, but it's almost like kind of like a brothel room or something. It's just like a place where, like, if you were going to entertain a man for an hour, you would want, it has a bed in it and maybe some special lighting, and I hate it when they like write the guys' names and like stick it on some stupid construction paper or something, or have some theme, and like for like put their highest tippers like on their walls and stuff like that. I like special lighting too, but honestly I think a lot of like it's kind of overdone. I look at little things like that. On this one you can instead, like both of these sites, like you can basically see all the videos in motion in real time, like the whole grid, so I can get on this site like a really quick scan of what the collective is doing, and it does change depending on the day, the time of day, sometimes what I've just put out, or like it's just it's very fluid. I also look at the names, especially on this site, because and that's how you can kind of tell how, like, a lot these women are not independent performers, and by that I mean like they work out of their own home. They signed up by themselves. They found out about it on their own, and they went direct to the site, which you should do. Cut out the middleman anywhere you can, or it's just adding a layer of somebody taking your money, and a layer of complication you don't need. But I guess if you don't have a house, or you don't have the ability to be independent, they'll give you the lingerie, they'll tell you how to do it, they'll give you a script, they'll tell you the formula. But they don't even make up their own names, and the names are just so ridiculous. I mean, at least a porn star making a porn movie usually has a porn star sounding name, and then it doesn't really sound real, and it's a little bit too generic, but at least it kind of sounds like a real name. These are definitely usernames, and I'm really tired of seeing names that have like anything to do with cats or kitty, or there's so much of that, or princess, or goddess, or there's just so much repetitiveness, and there's so much there's a lot of cabal kind of names, like Fox, Stella. I didn't know that was one until recently. So I look at things like that too, and just I see a lot of Illuminati symbolism, a lot of girls wearing, like the all-seeing eye and stuff like that on their clothes. A lot of butterflies and MK Ultra type imagery on people's clothes and backgrounds. Um, you know, kind of monarch type symbolism, a lot of like paw print, animal print type symbolism, a lot of black and white, you know, stripes and just black and white outfits. A lot of, you know, just like turning girls into animals and a lot of very like baby names. Bunny. You know, little. Oh, and I hate it when I see a name that has the word teen in it. Um, Sorry about the barking. Okay, so that's the second site. Um, One thing about this one though is this one does have some non-nude or you know like women that they actually when they do like private group shows they might be nude, but at least in public chat they're not. So that those are the ones that typically talk and you know play more games and stuff. But I would say there used to be more. Virtually all of them they work a lot. This site these women, oh God, the hours that they put in, it's unbelievable to me how long they spend on cam. And a lot of time, I mean, they're working towards like a goal, so it's like they've got to spend all, you know, like as long as it takes to reach the goal. I've seen some models online 8, 10, 12 hours sometimes, just to get to their goal, which is basically taking all their clothes off, you know, as the tips are earned, and then doing a masturbation public show for all the world to see, which I have never I've never understood how anyone would be comfortable doing that. But that's me. And that's why I was on this other site. Okay, so behind door number 3, we're going to go to the site that I used to work on, which is a completely different business model. Now, this is where basically the reason I was comfortable on this site is because, yeah, I could just kind of be on cam with my clothes on, you know, generally just kind of showing like my upper body. And yeah, I would be wearing lingerie and stuff because I would get nude, but only in a private chat. So basically, to me, I could not see myself getting naked for people who hadn't at least like expressed enough of an interest in me to like start a private show. And that just made total sense to me. The only way I could do either one of the other platforms that have a like a public model like that is as a non-nude model, because that's just me. That's my preference. But there are others that think the other way, that feel the other way. So a lot of the models that do it in a public chat, they definitely do not want any type of a one-on-one relationship with their viewers. But for you know, for me, I preferred that. And yeah. Well, okay, so this site that I used to be on, it's also changed a lot in terms of the performers over the years. And on this one, I actually have to kind of scroll over, like, the girls. This one does have some men, but not many. No non-nude acts of any note at all that I'm aware of. It's pretty straightforward. It's pay to play. You pick a female that, as a male, I guess, from that perspective, that, I don't know, is your type, I guess, and then you either tip for whatever in the free chat, or, mainly you go private. So, you know, the girl is basically, or the model is basically in and out of like a private chat, like she disappears and then she comes back and then she disappears, and that can be very titillating for men, because it's like, ooh, this girl is, she's, men are, other men are constantly taking her private, ooh, she's popular. It's sort of that type of a thing. Well, anyways, so this site, has a few models that are still on it that I recognize from the before time. And and sometimes it is kind of nice to just check in on that. Not that I know any of them personally, but it can actually make me feel almost like a little bit reassuring somehow that they're still around. I feel like they're old friends almost in some ways. Like the ones that I like their act, like I can tell they're cool people. It's like, yeah, it's kind of cool to see them again. Or, some of them that are not really cool people. It's just interesting to see what they're doing or how they're doing. So I do get sort of almost like, a lot of it is just I get kind of an emotional read on the collective and on the industry in general, just looking at these rooms. And in the same way that you can't, like, you follow somebody on YouTube that has, like their own channel. They're the the face of their brand, and they're putting themselves out there, and you can tell when they're having a good day or a bad day, that kind of thing. So yeah, this site I actually spend the least amount of time on, because I actually find it to be the most boring, and it's also been heavily infiltrated by like cam studio models. Not a lot of independents. The ones that I like are generally independents. But what isn't of note about this site is it is obviously heavily affiliated with the adult porn industry, movie making branch, because almost all of the major adult porn stars, when they stop making movies, they end up on this site. It seems like I've seen quite a few. And here's one right now. So again, they all kind of have their little niche. But see, like, here's a lady I like who I don't think she's working in a studio. She's working out of her home. She likes to dance. She's pretty cool. I mean, and she's another reason I like this performer is that she did this site and another site, so she could work both the main models, which takes being able to shift paradigms quite a bit. So, but the main thing that I don't like about this site is it is extremely fake, and most of the women, it just seems really scripted, and I think they really they used a lot of like some of my old material and my old scripts and my dialogue, I think, to like I think they sold a lot of my stuff to these different agencies and you know, cam studios and cam houses and stuff, you know, to basically give models a template for like things they could say to entice men and stuff, because I used to be really good at that. Kind of the sales pitch end of things. And but the other thing I really don't like about this, all the sites except, well, yeah, the second one too, all of them, everybody has like these pink plastic vibrating toys in their vages and their orifices, and like people tip to buzz them, and it just, and when people like show them off or like talk about them, it just, I find that to be such a turn off. I think it's sad. That's a big thing that's changed the industry, is apparently everyone thinks they need to have that to make money, and it's kind of just unnatural and gross, and it's just another example of a male fantasy that has nothing to do with any real intimacy or and it's also an example of just how monkey see, monkey do the whole industry is. So like, you know, one model will see another model making money doing something, and it'll just be like, oh my God, you know, we all have to, you know, jump on this bandwagon. Everybody is so worried that somebody else is going to make a little bit more money from some perverted, you know, man who, unfortunately, I can't say that it's just the women that are under the MK Ultra mind control and have gotten all of, you know, like their sexuality all, you know, bent out of whack. I mean, it's the men too. It's just, none of this is helping. None of this is helping, okay? I feel like all of these sites, the entire industry is really mocking men and women. I think they're mocking the lower classes. They are basically pitting people against each other, creating competition, creating separation, playing on everyone's fears of poverty, of not being famous, of, you know, basically, you know, it'll build up certain people with the whole, you know, you're special and important, you're the prettiest, you know, we're gonna, you know, you're number one, or you're in the top 10 this week or this month, you know, and people, it builds up people's ego. I mean, this is what, you know, the tempters, the controllers, the dark forces, however you want to look at it, this is what they do. They will find any weakness. And when they do, say your weakness is that deep down inside, your wounded inner child is screaming for attention that it never got. You never felt loved growing up. You know, you equate love with attention and money and a man, or, you know, the opposite sex paying attention to you. So in these men's minds, it's like these women are paying attention to them, and they've been conditioned to give money to women for that, especially if it's nude attention. Um, but the reverse isn't true, which is the problem. All of this is programming. The controllers want it this way. I cannot think of anything more submissive for a woman to do than to get on one of these sites and play into that. But she is not the cause of it. She's just having her weaknesses and her programming exploited every bit as much as the men that flock to these sites because they don't have the self-control to stay away. They're obviously looking for something that they haven't been able to find in the real world. Just like these women, they wouldn't be on this site if they had something in the real world that was any better. You know, they obviously don't. And there's a lot of justification that goes on. Again, a lot of these women would probably tell you that they are empowered and they're sex positive. And not see it at any other deeper level. And that is their prerogative. And it's none of my business. And so the reason I do this, I don't know. I'm not judging them. Like I said, I mean, I hope I'm kind of conveying how I really do feel like I'm seeing it from a lot of different sides. Maybe not every side, but I basically just see these sites as, you know, people who have a lot of programming and they just don't realize it. They can't see it. And so that's what art does, is it helps people to kind of see things in new ways. And the fact that I have gone through a transformation where I used to think that what I was doing was spiritually just like, you know, it didn't matter. I didn't think that this behavior was you know, bringing me down spiritually or hurting me or hurting anyone else. But now I know differently. And I also know for a fact that I was heavily under mind control. And so it's a paradigm shift. It really is. But it's not about being a prude or anything like that. But you know what? It's like I did a broadcast, I think it was about a week ago, where I had a dildo, an artificial penis, a plastic one, and I just took markers and I wrote like positive power words on it, like friendship, trust, agape, respect, nurture. And you know, I know just doing something as simple as that made a statement. Probably pissed some people off. And yet here's a girl that has written stuff on her inner thighs and has her legs spread right now, and she's about to you know, do some sexual acts. But you know, when a woman writes stuff on her body with markers or a lipstick or whatever, and I've seen women write like the guys' names on her body, and it's like, do you see how submissive you're being? And that's, I think that's maybe the main issue that I have, is that, you know, but it's not to blame the women. See, that's the thing. Everybody wants to scapegoat the women. Everybody wants to blame them. Like, if they just stopped doing this, well, they wouldn't do it if they weren't mind controlled. And they wouldn't do it if they weren't indoctrinated. And the men wouldn't go to the sites if they weren't indoctrinated. None of this is coming from the bottom of the pyramid. It's all coming from the top down. But the only way you can make anyone see that is with art or comedy, I think. I don't think anyone on any of these sites would listen to anything else. And if they're getting anything, like if the people that are aware of my shows and are watching them, I might be one of the few people that might be able to get in at all with any method, simply because they know me from before and they can see that I've transformed. Plus, they're all looking for content, so yeah, I mean, I'm in a position where I am giving people new ideas. What they do with them after that, I don't know. But of course, I always hope that it's going to inspire people to maybe think a little bit more of themselves. But I also have to be realistic. I mean, I basically, I don't want to keep watching these things. I kind of, I'm kind of doing this in a way, this, you know, like kind of showing you my thought process and stuff when I'm looking at this stuff, which like now I'm just like mindlessly scrolling, and it's really boring. And there's honestly all these on this site that like I have an account on now, and I've always thought this about this site. I feel like, with the exception of very few people, I can't tell any of these people apart. They all look the same to me. They all look the same to me. They're just bodies doing stuff. Which is why I go to these other sites, because there's a little bit more talking, at least, and generally a little bit less flesh, because I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the personality and the vibe of these rooms, to entertain me, quite frankly. You know, I mean, the only time I've ever spent any time in anybody's room for any length of time is because there was a good conversation going on, or something creative, like you know, like occasionally some of these, like there was a lady that got dressed up as an old lady like I did. You know, there are other actresses and people that do characters and stuff, and she was hilarious and I laughed. That's the kind of thing. It's like, I'm looking for people that entertain me too. You know, we all are. And the thing is, if there are some really good performers on these sites, but they've been dumbed down to where they channel all that creative energy into doing nothing but these sexual acts, and they could be doing so many other things. Like, there's a lot of talent here, but it has been completely co-opted by wealthy men who pay them to do this, and people will do whatever they get paid to do. And who, okay, this is nice. Now here's a model I really like, because And it's nice to see her on. She's never had a huge following, but she's always had like this consistent act. She's foreign. She doesn't speak at all. I don't think she speaks English, but she's an independent model, and all she does is listen to music and dance. I don't love her. I don't see her often, but when I do, she's just been like this kind of, consistent performer that I've seen her for probably doing the same thing for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. And it's just kind of nice to see it. Like somebody that she never gets, has never done anything except just dance and listen to music and type and not talk to people. There's another lady who basically all she does is play music. She's like a DJ, and she used to be on cam, but now she's completely all fuzzed out and stuff. She's still got, see, it's stuff like that I really love. Here's another performer that's kind of I think she's completely non-nude, and she's just a cute gal. So and I mean, like somebody you can tell she just would be like a really like fun person to get to know. But then there's the others that are kind of like, you can tell they just hate other women. Like they're just completely controlled by their pimp telling them, I love you, and you're the bestest, you're the prettiest one, and they believe it. I think a lot of these women do believe their own hype. Like I said, they're highly competitive, so I don't like seeing that type of a vibe. But there are some that I really do enjoy. Just their company, but it's just like anything else. It's like why you would watch one person on YouTube and not another. You like their vibe or you don't. And I feel like I'm kind of responding a lot to their spiritual frequency, and how they treat themselves and other people. But I feel sad for all of them that have studios and model management men, and I'm sure there are women too that are just taking their money and controlling them. Oh my gosh, just since I started making this video, here's another one I really like. See this, and these people have been inspirations for me. Here's another lady who's been around. I've seen her show for probably 6 or 7 years since I first became aware that these cams really exist. And she just dances and plays good music, and sometimes she shows face, sometimes not all the time. She doesn't talk a lot, but she does type and stuff like that. And yeah, they do it in kind of like a sexy way, and I realize I could be doing that too. See, these people are basically just doing something kind of like a slow sensual type of an act, and interacting, making eye contact with the camera and that type of thing. And like this lady, I like her because she'll say things like I love you and stuff like that to the camera. So she's putting a lot of positive energy out there, and she's got just a great vibe. And I mean, these are some of the people that just like to me, it just I mean, that's what I would like to see personally in every room. Um, and you know, more people that were that and if every performer did that, like if all these women were friends and they all got together, this is my dream, this is my vision, right? Like all these women like become friends and unite in the commonality around their shared status as a performer on this site. um, I'm trying to avoid saying the word union, but I mean, basically, when a group of workers comes together to let the site know or the company know that basically you wouldn't exist without our labor. So we're going to start calling the shots a little bit now because we've got some leverage and some negotiating, you know, but these women are so submissive sexually. You know, do you think any one of them is going to negotiate for anything? I mean, these are women who talk about men like they're their daddies. There's a whole lot of daddy talk going on these sites. And it's all about getting the biggest sugar daddy and competing for who gets the best sugar daddy. So basically, in the offline world of, you know, sex and the controllers, it's all about, you know, getting a rich husband or a rich wife, right? And that's going to make you more successful. Well, on these sites, these women, they're not married. Or I highly doubt that many of them are. I know some are, but you know, basically it's about who has the biggest sugar daddy or the most sugar daddies. And a lot of guys like being the daddy. So that it's a whole subculture of sugar, which is basically the same thing as saying you have a mercantile fetish. And many people do equate money, like the receiving or giving money, as an act of love. In fact, it's one of the five love languages. I think it's mainly it to me it just feels like people are being bribed to give all their power away. And it has nothing to do with friendship, but um, yeah, I think that the biggest turnoff about this site is that there are a lot of really competitive women, and probably the most I would say the model management and the pimps on this site, as the high rollers, the whales, where they go to hang out would be this site, probably more than the others. um it's the one that gives men the most, like the closest to a girlfriend experience. Also, this site definitely caters to men that want to see young, like most of these women that are propped up the most are, I would say, under 30. And most of the new models, like the foreigners that look like they all work for studios. Oh my gosh, I've taken so many screenshots in the last month or two, just of like when I've noticed one that looks underage. Um, I mean, they're supposed to submit ID, but honestly, what does that mean? Um, to me, if somebody looks like they're underage or they have the word teen in their name, that's not a good thing. Um, but anyway, but there's a few that are just really high vibe, like this lady here that kind of, I don't know, it's just like see, that kind of makes me seeing her do her act kind of helps build me up, and I kind of think that's kind of just all we're doing here is just kind of watching each other and getting each other's vibe. And some things make you laugh, some things make you shake your head, some things make you want to cry, some things build you up, some things bring you down. And overall, I mean, the way that I'm looking at these sites is I'm kind of giving it like a sociological overview, as far as like how these cams are affecting the collective, how the collective is affecting these cams, how the controllers are affecting these performers, the way it's just, I mean, I'm thinking about it from all sides, and then that kind of goes into, I guess, whatever comes out of me when I do a performance, as far as the catharsis that I need to have, or what I'm trying to say. But I'm trying to get away from that, have more fun. I'm trying to have more fun without giving them anything that's, it's like, because I want it to be challenging. It's like when these women are like monkey see, monkey do. Like if I just wore like a certain type of clothing, and then, during my broadcast, sometimes I'll check these sites, and there'll be like, a dozen women that are wearing the same very, very unique like clothing that I'm wearing. I just don't think it's a coincidence. It's things like that. But it's like, okay, if you want to copy me, that's fine. But copy the wisdom teachings. Copy the fact that I'm talking about the Christed consciousness. Why don't you do that? If you want to copy something, copy all of it. Copy the good stuff. Copy, I mean, something that, isn't just superficial. And I feel like, maybe that's kind of what I'm waiting for, is it's like, all right, if I'm going to be a trendsetter, let's see how far we can take this. I'd love to set a trend for all of these women to think a whole hell of a lot more of themselves. Stop competing with their peers. Stop doing everything because you're so programmed that you need a man to give you tip money to feel like you have worth in this world. And the minute that stops, or they, suddenly you're not popular because they rigged the game and somebody, put you on the list where you're not going to be popular this week, and your self-esteem plummets because of that, because that's all you had. That's all you had for, that propped up your, your sense of self at all, was your number on this flipping site of your, your rank on a stupid adult website. And how many guys typed in your chat role that they think that you're attractive. Anyway, I'm also thinking about, like, I mean, obviously it's a big time suck for me to make videos and not, not make any type of income from my time doing it. So I'm trying right now to try to figure out how I can do a broadcast and, without it being scripted, somehow use the content in different ways so that I can, because this is just, hopefully this is not something that I'm gonna be doing for very long. I really I really just don't know where it's going. I don't know how long Spirit will continue to call me to do this work. I'm ready to move on anytime that, you know, I guess, the thing is, and it is ironic because, yeah, I could definitely go back to doing what these women are doing, and I'm sure that, I would be rewarded by the men much like they are, but I don't want that, even though I could use the money. And the funny thing is, when you're woke, it's like, you would be such an excellent steward of the money. None of these women know what to do with the money. Whereas, like, you're awake, and you're mature spiritually, and you got your funny bone back and your creativity back. Oh my God. If I had some money, I have so many ideas for what I could do with it. And I would have so much fun. I would have so much unapologetic fun. And I would help so many people. And that's exactly why they don't want me to have any. But I'm also not going to do anything that these people are doing to make it. I'm not even, I don't even feel comfortable doing anything that even like sensual, unless it's just like in jest. I mean, I have thought about it. It's not that I can't still do that type of an act. I definitely am pretty sure that I could, but I just don't want to. But that's not to say that, I mean, like, the fact that these women, the ones that I just mentioned, who I really like their vibe, they're part of their vibe is, yeah, it's kind of a sensual dance, and there's some suggestiveness to it, and there might even be sometimes partial nudity and stuff, but it's not hardcore, like they're not masturbating on cam. There's no penetration. There's no spreading. I mean, I don't want to see that stuff, really. None of that interests me. And I don't think it is helping anyone to see it so easily and for free on these sites. It shocks me how easy it is for anyone to get to these sites and just see it all. And I really I think about kids, and the thing is, I think if I did anything even like slightly sensual like this ever again, like that's all I would ever do. Like it just makes me feel so limited. It's like, if that, once you do it, it's like that's all you can, people think that's all you can ever do. They just put you in like a little, and it's like, no, I'm awake. I have access to a full range of emotions. I can express anything from anger to grief, sadness, celebration. There are so many other emotions besides just sensuality. I definitely think that this is a very male version of femininity. I feel like these women have been programmed, mind controlled, indoctrinated, like we all have, to think that this is what femininity looks like in order to please a man, or, you know, the divine masculine in general, that like this is what the divine masculine wants a woman to be: nude, young, submissive, a pleaser, a non-thinker, someone that gives all their time and energy and power away to men, works for men, entertains men, and this typically involves makeup, long hair, tight clothes, lingerie, lace, sex toys, surgery for boobs, butts, any type of enhancements, implants, whatever you want to call it. I would not, I redact the word enhance. I don't think that's enhancing myself, but I have heard it called that, because it's as if to say like what they had before wasn't good enough, and I don't like that. All of these women need to learn to love themselves the way that they are, and I just see so many women that I feel like so many people feel bad in their bodies, and then it's like stuff like this, and the way men talk to women on these sites, like if you were like, I'm not even clicking on any of these rooms and sharing. I do not want to read the dialogue because it is so lowbrow. That's the other reason why I cannot spend any time in these rooms, because the conversations that the men are having with the women, and then the other reason why I can't do anything sensual is because of that. I prefer to just do my own thing and have like no one's there and no one's talking to me, because almost anything's better than the kind of drivel that people write in these chat roles. It's really bad. It's like the worst level of conversation. It's so dull. Like if you were in a bar and you heard some of these things, it's I don't know. Well, anyway, I don't normally spend this amount of time. Okay, I'm clicking away. But then again, you know, time can, like if somebody that I was interested in because I like their vibe comes on, you know, yeah, I could get off you know, on maybe clicking on their room and listening to them for a little while, and yeah, it does eat up time a lot, just in small doses. So I'm really hoping that I now that I feel like in the last couple of months I've kind of gotten up to speed on what's new and how I'm affecting things, because I've also of course been observing, because I see the direct change again, not only during one of my broadcasts, but for days after. I feel like every one of my broadcasts is having some kind of effect on some people some of the time, and the mystery is I'll never know exactly what that is. But again, I do think that there's a vibration that's going forward just because I'm doing something a little bit different and I'm happy to do it. I feel like I am doing it kind of for my own reasons, even though I'm not always feeling like it's just me doing it. And I do feel like it is obviously some kind of a culmination of like some type of a life plan that's sort of coming together, I think, in terms of, you know, having had this lifestyle before I was really awake, and then getting out of it, and now that I'm awake, I'm able to do something different. And you know, the thing is, I used to care about this stuff a lot. Like, I was always a very avid student of like gender equality, and, you know, like in the stuff that was going on in the 60s and the 70s especially. Like, I was really always interested in that time period, when I was a lot. I mean, I was born in 69, so you know, I was reading a lot of stuff in the 70s and the 80s, and to some degree the 90s. That was, I guess you would probably call it, you know, like women's empowerment type of literature. And then for some reason I stopped. I think something must have happened sometime in like the mid 80s. Because when I was younger, I used to feel very strongly about these issues. And then I guess maybe, I don't know, I guess I kind of got into like my mid 20s, or, you know, got to 30, and maybe just kind of gave up. It's like, this is the way the world is, and nobody cares. But I think I think collectively, globally, a lot was going on with energies, because I feel like the world has just been so sexualized in just like the last 20 to 25 years. Hypersexualized. There's just so much nudity, so much access to sexual content now. And I think it really dumbs people down. It really keeps them stuck. And I guess that's probably why I'm doing what I'm doing, is in some small way, maybe I can have an effect on, you know, some small group of people, and it spreads. I mean, that's all any of us can really do. And I think I'm actually doing really great, considering that intellectually, you know, psychically, spiritually, emotionally, I'm surfing to these sites, which are in many ways inherently negative and heavily encoded, and I'm able to look at them with new eyes. 3 years ago, I wanted to be a performer on that one site, so I could like build a following, and I could be, you know, I wanted to be successful financially as a non-nude performer, on that second site that we went to, back in 2017. And that's when the controllers psychically attacked me. And that led to me, well, that led to a lot of things, but that's when I stopped broadcasting. And that ironically kind of freed me up to start basically watching a lot of YouTube and learning a lot more about things that I didn't know, and finding out there were a lot more people on a spiritual path like I was, or that I am, and that, you know, there's a whole community out there that I didn't know. And we've all been waking up pretty rapidly. I know it kind of probably feels like things aren't happening fast enough, but I think they are actually happening very rapidly, and this is definitely symbolic of that. I think everything's going well. You know, considering that I don't know where it's all going, but it does feel it feels like I'm on the right path. But I do feel like, yeah, I could probably do a little bit more self-care. I do feel kind of drained by seeing some of this imagery and picking up on the vibe of other people, and as an empath taking on some of that energy, or, you know, feeling like, you know, feeling sad because, you know, things could be so great if we could just change some of our systems. But I feel like if you know, at least I'm saying something. At least I'm trying to express my truth as best I can, and I think everyone is. I see a lot of spiritual sisters and brothers kind of putting a lot more stuff out lately, I think, or feeling called to create more content, and people being more authentic, I think, in general, and it's great. I think as long as we are also having fun doing it, whatever the manifestation of the creativity is, whatever spirit calls you to do, or how you're called to do it, as long as you're having fun with it. So I realize I am having fun with it, and I also need to take good care of myself, and notice when my energy is getting a little bit low. There's a QHHT practitioner that I've just recently found. Her name's Laura Whitworth, and she is British, and she's been bringing through in her sessions quite a bit of intel on ascension and things like that, and of course things with you know, dates and whatnot. I don't listen to any of that. I feel like, honestly, just be ready. You'll never know the hour or the day. Just try to be ready. You know, like, I feel ready. I'm ready. any damn day now. Let's do it. Let's go. So ready. Been ready. But you know what? I don't know that everyone is. And I'm just going to try to keep having fun here. As best I can. And stay ready and hope everybody else is getting ready. And, you know, you don't pin your hopes. Like, I'm not hoping for anything. I'm not hoping for any event or some Antarctica fire or pole shift or any of this stuff. I don't know. I think a lot of it's metaphorical. I think it's all happening within and without, and we're all coming to a greater understanding of what that means. But I think until we really start healing our wounded inner child, our emotional blocks, getting out of our heads and into our hearts, stop operating out of our lower chakras, changing our systems. I mean, how can we be ready? The main thing is, you know, living in, I guess the one good thing about, you know, constantly having predictions of some big thing happening, right, is there's a sense of anticipation. I think it's okay to have a sense of anticipation. In fact, I had a dream about that recently, that's really kind of what keeps a lot of these narratives going, right, is just a sense of anticipation, like shows and stories and storylines and news stuff that make you think something, like you're always anticipating something good or bad happening. It doesn't matter which one it is. As long as you anticipate something, there's a mystery, and it keeps you watching. It keeps you invested. It keeps you clicking. Anticipation is the reason why a lot of relationships don't last, is because you know, familiarity breeds contempt, you know, they say. There's no anticipation. You know, a lot of times people take each other for granted because there's no anticipation. There's total predictability when you get to know someone, and you already know what they're going to do and they're going to say. The entertainment business is heavily invested in making sure that you are always living in a state of anticipation. Otherwise, you wouldn't come back and watch. You wouldn't buy another ticket. They've got everybody so brainwashed that, you know, they don't know how to take care of themselves or have self-control. They keep coming back to watch the same old crap over and over again in some girl's room. It's the same show every night, I guess. It doesn't entertain me. Anything that entertains me pretty much isn't online. Nobody seems to be catering to my entertainment needs. And that's the pole shift that we need to have. All the light workers are going to start getting the entertainment that they want. And you know what? I don't need any adult webcam sites. I want sites that reward people that just want to dance, put out a good vibe, tell jokes, whatever. I mean, you would say that's YouTube, but it isn't. It isn't. The people that are monitoring YouTube or anything else online looking for talent are immediately looking at, like, ooh, it's like, just like, I hate to say Justin Bieber, but he just popped it in my head as, like, you know, somebody who, I mean, he's a kid. He gets discovered on YouTube. He's a child. Start throwing some money at him, make him famous. He doesn't even know who he is. You know, his brain isn't even fully formed, and you're making him into a multi-millionaire. Do you know what that does to people? The thing is, when somebody's got some creativity or some talent, they're good at something, it seems like there's somebody just right there waiting to like take over and be the manager or, you know, like harvest them. And if you're not harvestable, like maybe there's nothing, you can't be bribed, you're not going to be promoted. You know? It's like you're not going to be popular. Because even though there might be a market for someone like you, we don't want there to be a market for someone like you. And that's why I feel like my content is, in a way, a little bit threatening, probably, because I'm doing it anyway. Obviously, if the powers that be are watching it, that's enough of a market for me. And the fact that they're watching it and they know that, I mean, I'm doing it and I'm not succumbing to the pressure to do something that would, you know, lead to getting tips. It does appeal to my sense of humor. It does. Slightly. You know, it's not like, I mean, it's an underlying level of humor that I'm even on the site doing what I'm doing, and then you add that, and it's just like, just that alone, it doesn't even matter anything else that I'm doing. Just that alone makes it funny. To me, anyway. And honestly, I don't think I even appreciate it enough. I'm really not, I'm not thinking about how, like, wow, this is actually kind of cool that I'm doing this. It is. I don't have anybody telling me that. Nobody is, like, telling me I'm great or, you know, but, you know, and if they did, I would probably just be uncomfortable with it because I'm not used to it. Never had anybody build me up in my whole life or anything. Or be my cheerleader or anything like that. Honestly, if somebody started doing it now, I probably wouldn't know what it would just make me feel like, ew. What are you trying to get out of me? What do you want? Because the only time I ever get compliments is when people want something. Oh. Well, anyway. I'm sure it will be an interesting month. So this has just been a little update on my life for the first couple of months of 2020. I never know what's going to happen day to day, and I have paranormal stuff happen every day. stop with that I'm not even talking about that stuff. It's too much. I could probably have, and I've had ideas for, I mean, I could, if I had the time, I would have multiple channels, and they would all be about something a little bit different. But I think I've probably said enough, and I'm just glad that I finally made this update, and hopefully for those of you that are watching, you know, got something out of it. At least you know I'm still doing good. I'm still enjoying the journey. I'm still here. Still creating my art and challenging the controllers. Trying to raise the vibe, inspiring other people to raise their vibe too, hopefully. Because it's a group effort, and there's a lot of good people who are ready, who just, you know, they just are of the light, and they don't think like controlling people do. They're not self-serving, you know? So, you know, if you still got your sense of humor, and you can still enjoy your day and the little things and get a little bit of fun out of it, you're doing good. You know, have fun creating. I think the more fun we can have with this, the better. Another nice thing about doing this kind of work, as opposed to a lot of, just like on my Krista Sage channel, a lot of the channelings are, you know, very, very serious, you know, teachings that are coming through. But one of the things I like about this mission, this assignment, is that it does give me an opportunity to kind of do more with comedy, which I've always wanted to do. So I feel like I'm doing it for my own reasons, developing myself in that way, but without any real goal or anything in mind. It's something that I can do, enjoy. I can pick it up and I can put it back down without there being some big need for anything. But yeah, I am using it definitely to teach, and to make a statement and protest, I think, as far as what I feel is a very limited hangout that these platforms offer to both the performers and the customer base, and I think that is a shame. And, you know, sometimes you have to show more than tell when you're making a statement, when you're saying, you know what, I don't really agree with how you are treating a majority of people. And it is definitely mocking both the divine masculine and the divine feminine, to play the game that way. And it isn't necessary. So Actually, one thing I almost forgot. I do things a lot, then I kind of forget that I do them. But one of the things I did today is I sent an email to that second site, and I asked them if they would reinstate my account because they had actually they banned me in July of 2018. This actually is not my first time at the rodeo. I had a really short stint. It lasted maybe 2 weeks on that site where, yeah, I was doing kind of like something similar, and they did ban me. But it was probably, it had a twinge more anger to it, I think. Plus there were a lot of other women that were just complaining about me again. It seems like that site, that it's always like the other performers, they start complaining about like, why isn't she getting me, why is she, anyway, it was that, or there was somebody like in the HQ controller headquarters that didn't like me and decided that my show was a little too subversive. It wasn't. I had also made some Illuminati call out type references in my profile. I think maybe that might have finally somebody read that and it got some attention. So that happened. Anyways, I sent them a brief email, which I will read to you. Hey, friends at name of site. Are you enjoying my new show? Would you like to be a part of the Lady Gangbusters experience? Reinstate me. I am being called to duty, so I have to ask. The choice is yours. I can supply the masses with so much entertainment right directly on your grid. Reinstate the goddess! And I will shake my tail feather for you. Yippee-ki-yay! Love, and then my real first name. So that's the kind of relationship we have. And I know it's a little, I don't know. As I was writing it, that is the voice in my head that was coming through. Is like, a little snotty, a little facetious, but I really don't care if I don't expect them to. I don't care if I assume they probably will not reply to that, but I wanted them to know that I was thinking about them and that I definitely would bring my Lady Gangbusters act to their platform as well. Especially because I think, so part of the comedy of that is that all these sites are owned by, I think each one is owned by one of the 6 corporations that own everything, right? I don't know which one exactly. You can't find it. No one knows. No one knows. So it's the 1%ers, right? So the 6 corporations that own everything, I think each one has, owns a site or, at least one. A lot of them are probably co-owned and stuff like that. But, this is where a lot of like the betting comes in, and there really is MK Ultra and military abductions and people that are controlled through hypnosis and things like that. And there's a lot of that going on in these sites. And when I say bets, I'm not kidding. When I say that people can control other people with hand signals, certain words or codes or series of words, numbers, things like that that they have been taught through hypnosis to be induced to do certain things. All of that's very real. It's all happening all the time, and people don't have any idea. The thing nobody wants to talk about, people don't want to talk about death. They don't want to talk about sex. They don't want to talk about money. And they don't want to talk about hypnosis. And that's where all the fears are. That's what keeps people trapped, is because no one is talking about those things. And then I get online, and that's all I want to talk about. Actually, it's not. I should just go start some like beauty channel and start like doing makeup tutorials or something, maybe, right? But I just can't. I just can't. But I really would love to work on 2 of the main sites and like just, they would never compete against each other though, because they would never compete against each other. But yeah, I would like to know who owns the site that I have an account on. But that's just how icky it all is you can't even find out who the parent company of the site is, even when you are working on it and you are getting, well, heck, I would know if you got a paycheck, but I assume there's like, if you got a piece of paper they'd pay people and whatever it might say on it. I mean, I don't think it would lead you to like the ownership, but anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at that. But again, thanks for watching, and if I feel called to make another one of these, maybe in like a monthly update, I will. But otherwise, you can always just keep up with the stuff that I'm doing live by searching for Lady Gangbusters, all one word. And I am going to try to get some of the more like artful stuff that I've done live and get it up on YouTube too, and kind of try to get the vibe off of certain content that I've made out there, because I think it's also something that should be on the YouTube channel for those that do not want to go to these websites. Who can blame you? All right, blessings, guys.